Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Good evening, my friends. This is Angy Stewart from INNERLIGHT, and we are here live on Kardec Radio. Today is Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're super happy to be here. We used to do it weekly, but now because I'm studying and it's very, very hard, we are doing it monthly. But the important thing is that we are still doing. That's what is important. Exactly like I tell a lot of people. People say, "Oh, I do so many mistakes and I try so much, but I still fall and I still commit, errors and problems." And I always tell them, the important thing is that you already recognize these are mistakes, these are errors, and you stand up, you move on, and you avoid repeating the mistakes. This is what is important. So let's hope we continue like this. And we help each other. We help each other to not commit mistakes. So it's important when we are here, when we are learning together and we are improving and inspiring others, and of course reminding ourselves, because we already know, but it's good to be reminded of what we are supposed to do. So the study of tonight, we studied this book, the Gospel According to Spiritism, for 30-40 minutes, and then we studied this book. What is Spiritism? This is a much smaller book. It's a great book, and very few people study it. So I'm happy that we are able to cover this book, because we don't have a lot of talks, we don't have a lot of study about it. A lot of people don't even know Kardec ever wrote that book, and that book was even before the gospel. So tonight, to study with us, we have our two guests, and I will bring them here. So we are going to be together. We have Jackie with us. Hey, Jackie.
Hello, Angie. How are you?
Very good, very good. Nice to have you with us again. That's great.
Thank you so much. Be here.
And we have Paul. Hello, Paul. How are you?
Hi, Angie. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having you here with us. And Paul is in Connecticut.
Yay for Connecticut.
Yay!
I am safe.
Me and Jackie are in Miami, but Paul is in Connecticut. Paul, what's the name of your city?
Milford.
Oh, Milford. Okay. I was there. I was in Milford. I was in our friend's home. I think you live very close to.
We're probably very close to you.
I think you live very close to Laura, isn't it?
About a mile or two away.
Oh, wow. So I probably passed in front of your house and I don't even know. But very, very good. Thank you, Paul, for being with us again. This is awesome. And to start our study, I actually would like to ask you to do our initial prayer. Could you do it?
Paul? Of course I'll do that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Dear God, dear Jesus, dear higher spirits, dear guardian angels, thank you from all my heart for the opportunity for us all to be together and talk about the gospel and talk about what is Spiritism and learn from each other. And more important than anything, just love each other and just enjoy this time together. So be it.
So be it. Very good. Thank you so much, Paul. This is great. So, my friends, we will be studying this book, The Gospel According to Spiritism. And today we are going to attempt to do the chapter 20 and to finish chapter 20. So chapter 20 is actually a very small chapter, and the message is very condensed. So the messages are very important. But we are going to try to summarize everything in the short time that we have. So this chapter, the title is Workers of the Last Hour. And it starts with this beautiful parable that Jesus told us, and you can find it in Matthew item 20. So the parable is long. I will just try to summarize. But basically, this is a story of a man who owns a farm, and he is searching for workers. So imagine nowadays, we always find in certain locations in big cities, we have certain areas that you can go there, and there will be a bunch of people waiting to be picked up to work. So basically, that's what this man did. He went there and he said, who would like to work? And then a bunch of people said, yes. And then he said, okay, so you can come with me to my farm and I will pay you 1 denarius. Imagine, I will pay you $100 for the day. And they said, okay. So they went with this man. In the parable, there is one thing that we have to understand here, that Jesus mentions the first hour, then he continued the second hour, third hour, and until the last hour. So the first hour for the Hebrew is the first hour of the day when the sun is coming. So it's 6 a.m. 6 a.m. is the first hour. And the last hour is when the sun is going down, is 6 p.m. That's the last hour. So this is good for us to understand because he will mention this a lot. So summarizing here, he goes, this man, he starts going to the farm with the workers, and after 2-3 hours he comes back. He sees there's still a lot to be done, a lot to be completed. Then he goes out again and he asks if there are more people that would like to work, like 2-3 hours after. And then he picks up more people and he drives back to the farm, and he also promised these people 1 denarius, and he does it few other times. So there is a little portion that he says here, and then he went out again at the third hour of the day. The third hour of the day is 9 a.m. So the first time he went was 6 a.m. and now he went back at 9 a.m. And seeing others who were in the square not doing anything, he said to them, you also you go also to my vineyard, and I will give you what is reasonable. And then they went there. So he continues doing that. Then he does it again at the 11th hour, and then he goes. The 11th hours was near receive. Oh, sorry. Those who had not come to the vineyard except the 11th hour was near received 1 denarius. This is what he's talking to his accountant. All the workers that came to his farm until the 11th hour, that's 1 hour before the last, he was going to pay 1 denarius. So imagine there is the person who arrived at the first hour, 6 a.m., the ones who arrived at 9 a.m., the ones who arrived at 12, and then the ones who arrived at 5 p.m. They are supposed to get 1 denarius. And then it goes like this. Those who were hired first came in their turn, believing they would be giving more. But each one received no more than 1 denarius. Upon receiving it, they complained against the father of the family, saying, This last worked only 1 hour, and you made them equal to us who bore the load of the heat of the day. So they were saying, we were the whole day working since 6 a.m. And now you're going to pay them who worked only 1 hour the same amount that we that worked for 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours. Then came the response. But in response, he said to one of them, my friend, I have done you no wrong. Did you not agree with me on 1 denarius for your day's work? Take what belongs to you and go. As for me, I wish to give to the last as much as to you. Is it not permitted to me to do what I want? As in your eye. No, and is your eye evil because I am good? Thus, the last shall be the first, and the first shall be the last. For many are called, but few are chosen. So, this is in Matthew. So, when we bring this parable to our days, we start thinking. I remember when I just read it, I'm like, that's not fair. These guys, they are working since 6 o'clock in the morning. They work so much. They work so hard. It's so hot. And these other people, they arrived at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They are going to work 1 hour only and they're going to make the same salary. That's not fair. That was my reasoning. But now we have to go back. If we analyze them separate, that's exactly what the owner of the farm said. He said, Jackie, I invited you to work at 6 a.m. and I told you I pay you 1 denarius. Did you agree? And Jackie will say, yes,
Of course.
I agree. And then she said, that's what he told Jackie. Jackie, so I didn't do anything wrong. I'm paying you what I promised you. But Paul was lucky. Paul was a lucky guy. I saw Paul there. Paul was doing nothing. I said, Paul, it's 5 o'clock. Would you like to come to work for 1 hour? Yeah, let's go. I paid 1 denarius. Okay. So Paul came. So in reality, the owner of the farm, he didn't do anything wrong. He exactly did what he promised. But we are the ones who always get into this is not fair. But as always, Jesus always gives to us these beautiful teachings in ways of parables for us to think, for us to connect. And that's what we are going to do right now. When we talk about these ones who came, at 6 a.m., when we talk about Jackie arrived so early, 6 a.m. And Paul was finishing the day. He arrived at 5 p.m. I probably arrived around 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I was exhausted by 5 o'clock.
So, what bringing to our study? What can we talk about this? What does it mean? What does it mean? The ones who arrived at 6 a.m. and the ones who arrived at 5 p.m. for example. Do you guys have an understanding of this?
Angie, the way I see this in reading the whole chapter is basically on the opportunities that we have. The opportunities that we have to do something good. Okay? Some people, because it is an opportunity, more than an opportunity, it's a privilege, right? Doing something good, working to do something good is a privilege. Some people will have that opportunity before others because they are doing some of the things that they need to do. They don't have probably the time to help others, right? And some people will have that opportunity later in life. It doesn't mean that it didn't work. It's just that this is when the time came for them to help others. And it doesn't make me better than Paul because I started working at 6 a.m. and he started working at 5 p.m. He was there waiting all day. He wanted to work. He just didn't have a chance to work before 5 p.m. And that's why the contribution that he made in 1 hour is as much as important as the contribution that I did in all the 11 hours that I did. This is the way that I try to understand this. There's other ways that the gospel talks about it, but this is one of the interpretations. It talks about the prophets, but I'm going to let Paul, and then we can probably, go a little bit deeper in this one. But that's my interpretation, because he's talking about doing good.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very much on the same wavelength with Jackie. And I'll add another thing to it as well. But I do think it's about making use of the opportunities and the time that you have. And so I'm on the older side. I'm not going to go beyond that. But it hit home. I mean, even just reading this chapter, I thought to myself, you just don't have the opportunity to waste the time that God's given you to do good. That was really, if I had to carry a takeaway from the entire chapter, that was probably the most important thing. That all of us here, and they say it, so it's not me making it up. They say, we're all of the last hour. We're the last guys, and we have the benefit of reincarnation.
Yeah.
So we've improved over time, and here we are, whatever age we might be. It's like, don't mess up that opportunity. So that was my big thing. The other thing I just want to mention in passing, because I think it's important, although maybe not that important today, is the expectations. Because you used the words I used, Angie, when I said that's not fair. That just shouldn't be the way that is. And I think the issue there, not from the point of view of Paul, who gets the job at the 11th hour, but from the other people's point of view, the issue sometimes, they agreed to the 1 denario, but the truth of the matter is their expectations, they were getting disappointed because of their expectations. And I think sometimes what we have to do is lose our expectations, because we're trying to control that situation and say, I did this, therefore this should happen. And in real life, that's God's decision, not ours.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. We have a Bruce saying hello from YouTube. Hello, Bruce, from Portland, Oregon. Very nice. My goodness, that's awesome. Yes, it is true. There are, as both of you mentioned, there are many ways to analyze this parable. Many different ways. And exactly like here, if we go here, he mentions of the worker of the last hour. He didn't work because he didn't have an opportunity. But he also mentions the ones that are probably they were just idle and they did not wanted to work. They were like, okay, no, it's still 3 o'clock. I have a few hours. Let me take a nap. So it depends a lot. But the important thing, the message from this really is that doesn't matter when you were called. When you wake up, when your call comes, you go and you work. You give the best that you can. And it's so beautiful to see this flourishing, and you are an example, Paul. You discover spiritism much later in life, and this touched you in a way that you joined, and then you start studying, and then you really dedicate yourself to it. And in other hand, there are people that are born in spiritist families from many generations, but that does not touch their heart. So they didn't wake up yet. One day they will wake up. They were put in a family, everybody spiritist, imagine, to give them this boost of energy, but was not enough. And as you said, there will be other reincarnations, and this person will come, and not necessarily with spiritism, but the spiritism helps us to understand so many things. That's why it's easier. Like all those questions that we have in our heads, like what happens after death. Spiritism is the philosophy that can guide us to this understanding. The other ones is more like a supposition, only God knows. So we keep thinking, oh, how is that? We have no idea. Spiritism, we have through mediumship this wonderful opportunity to understand it so much better. So it's like a more clarity for us. But this is very good. One thing that I wanted to mention that I was talking to you guys before was about the ones. So we have the ones that start working early. We have the ones that start working later, and then Kardec is commenting here about the ones that didn't work because they didn't have work. Others didn't work because they were idle, they were lazy, they didn't want to work. But then there are the others who are not even doing, who are not even idle and are not working, but they are actually committing crimes.
Wasting their time committing crimes.
Worse. So instead of using the time to do something good, they are actually doing the wrong things. So that's why Kardec mentions, imagine the ones that you are more, that's not exactly like this, it's my own words, but Kardec is saying we judge the ones who are idle, but they didn't wake up. But what about the other ones that are actually doing a disservice? They are committing crimes. This is so much worse. So this is something for us to understand that it's important. And Kardec continues that basically saying that God sees everything. God sees the ones who didn't work because they didn't have a job, the ones who didn't work because they were lazy, and he sees the ones who were committing crimes. And as we know, reincarnation will answer all of this, because in our conscience, when we come back, we will have in our conscience, oh, I misused my time, I could have done this, I could have done that. So if people say, "Oh, God will punish you," no, 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 no. There is no God punishing. It's us waking up and understanding. Oh, I wasted the opportunity. It's almost like that kid that never really studied math, and when arrived the end of the year, did not pass the test, and now have to repeat the year. So it's like, oh, and see math again. That's the thing. That's exactly what the Spirit said. Like, you will come back, you will have another opportunity to do again, but now it's going to be even harder. So you will need to have to make a stronger effort, because you will have to be doing the same thing, and it will be a little bit harder because you may be not be in the same type of environment, you might not have the same family that would help you. So whatever, now you will have to make an extra effort, and that's the difficult part.
And Angie, I was having a conversation with a friend today, just thinking a little bit about that. And in this conversation is actually a friend who has cancer. And this person was saying, "Wow, I don't know how much time I have left. And I don't know how many things I can still do. And I feel like I don't have the energy to do many of the things that I should be doing." And I said, "Well, maybe you are doing everything you need to do right now, which is for you to help yourself." I reflect about this now that I'm studying more the Spiritism after my mom passed away, and I was more connected with the Spiritism because I know Spiritism for many, many years. Now that I'm more connected, I feel like I don't know when my day is going to come. And I need to work really hard through giving to others, to studying, through teaching others. Not teaching because I'm not that smart to teach anything, but to share the knowledge with others so we can all know the path, or we can all find this job that we can work, and hopefully I can make up for some of the things that I've done in this incarnation and things that I'm still bringing from previous incarnations. So this conversation, this reflection that we are having about this is a reality in our lives every day, because it doesn't matter if I'm sick and I may know that my time is coming because of my disease. I am healthy today, but I don't know how many days I have left to be able. I don't have to wait until I get to that point to realize that I need to start transforming myself. I need to become a better person. I need to be more giving. I need to make better use of my free will.
Exactly. And usually most of the people usually only have this wake up call when they get sick, or when somebody they really love dies suddenly. That's when they start like questioning, uh, what have I done in my life, or what will happen. This also happened to me a few days ago, not to me, but a friend of mine who lives in California. She was going home, she was driving going home, and suddenly another car came in her direction. It would be a front collision, and she couldn't believe when she saw the lights, and she threw her car to the right, and the car passed. And she was so shocked with what happened that she recorded a video, and she was saying that in a split second she could be dead, because she doesn't understand how this car came straight to her. Maybe the person was drunk, or text messaging, but came out of the other lane and just crossed her. And then she was talking about something like this, thinking about, I could be dead, I wouldn't be coming home to my kids, to my family. And then she was saying, I am so thankful that I'm able to be here. And I start thinking, never leave for tomorrow what you can do today. So this is one thing for us to reflect to. There are a lot of
Always
people
reflect.
that buy something, and they say, oh, I will keep this to whenever I go some, I will keep this and I will use that. And maybe the opportunity never even come. So it's important for us to do what we want at that moment. You love someone, don't wait to be Valentine's Day to tell him I love you. Just do it. And you had a fight with your friend, and now you finally feel really bad. So call the person, apologize, try to make amends. The spirits always tell us, try to make amends here on earth, because when you go to the spiritual realm, things get a little bit more difficult. And our conscience also gets really like, I think, frustrated. Why did I do that? So, and it was very nice what you told her, because maybe now is the time for her to reflect on her life. And what did she do? Can she do something better now? And it's a moment of reflection. That's an important moment of reflection for her, and for anyone that go through something
Yeah.
so
Get,
difficult.
get rid of our resentments, forgive people, ask for forgiveness. But I I read this, I think, I don't remember where I read this, I probably on Facebook. Somebody wrote something in the lines of, we have to live our days like if it was the last day of our lives, but not to commit crazy stuff, but to think about this. If I die today, what kind of feelings I want to take with me, what kind of memories I want to leave for the ones who are staying here.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
think about that literally all the time. You know, the idea that part of your life is to set a good example. You know, that one of the things you're doing is trying to leave something good for others all the time. And the only other thing I would like to add, because I think you guys did such a great job with this. I still have this this idea of not wasting time is also not getting stuck. Not so when you do something and you make a mistake, or you think it's a mistake, or it doesn't work out the way you want it to, as long as your actions are in love, which is what you just said a moment ago, Angie, that's a good thing. And if you did something bad, you made a mistake, which we all do, you don't have the time to spend sulking on that for very long. It's worth a couple of minutes or whatever it takes you to feel good about it, and then move on. Because I think what Jackie said was the real answer is you don't know when the end is coming. That's the one thing that's simply not in your control at all. So always make good use of your time.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. We always think that we're going to live for so many years, and we never know. We never know. Maybe tomorrow you are called to go upstairs, and you never know. So we have always to think. And think about what Jackie said. There is a beautiful story of Saint Francis of Assisi. Someone went to him and asked Father Francis if if you're gonna supposed to die in few minutes, what would you like to be doing? And then he thought. He was in his garden, and he was in his garden doing cleaning or doing something with the plants. And then he thought, and he said, exactly what I'm doing right now. And then he's like, really? And he's like, yeah. So when we think, it's like, oh my goodness. So his consciousness was so clear and so clean that he had done everything he could. And at that moment, he was doing what was supposed to be done. And he was fine with that. So if he died at that moment, he was okay. And us, we're like, oh, I would like to do this. I would like to do that. I would call that person. I'm like, and we never know when will be our last day. So do it now. Use this dress now.
The beautiful China.
Don't save for tomorrow. Don't save for tomorrow. Very good, very good. So let's skip ahead. Let's go to the mission of the Spiritists. So the mission of the Spiritists, it's very nice. Everything that Kardec describes here, and there are a few questions and answers. But before I say anything, I would like to ask you both, what do you think? What do you think it is the mission of the Spiritists?
Well, by reading this, I don't know if I want to start.
No, I was hoping you would start.
Okay, thank you. By reading this, Angie, my understanding is that the same, like going back, we were the ones that were given this mission to work, right? Probably we're going to be, as spiritists in this incarnation, we are the workers that started at 6 a.m. And our work is to share with others, is to be the model of the people, of how we are supposed to be in terms of practicing the good, doing the charity. This is the work that we need to be doing. And transmitting the knowledge. I don't like to say teaching, because when we say teaching, it means that we know more than the others. It not necessarily means that we know more than the others, but it's transmitting the knowledge that we have in ways that are humble, in ways that don't polarize us against the others, in ways that we pass the information. And if people want to take the information and want to work on this, perfect. We work with them. We're not going to try to convince anyone. We do our part. We do the best we can. And if people believe in it and want to do it, great. If they don't want this because it's not their time to do it. So this is my summary of the mission of the Spiritists.
No, very good. Paul, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, she always says such good things. I'm stuck saying I agree with Jackie. But I do think we're very privileged. I feel that, because what you said before is so true. I've only been in Spiritism for several years, So I say it all the time. I say a prayer of gratitude almost daily. Thank you, God, for getting me to Spiritism, because it's been one of the best things that's ever happened. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. So I do feel very privileged. And I therefore also believe, with more enthusiasm sometimes than I should, that part of what we're supposed to do is try and give that to other people. And again, because what the way Jackie said it was so perfect to me, because what I've grown to learn is that it is an issue of doing it one heart at a time. It's not a mass produced public campaign. It goes back to the concept of being a role model and being a friend and caring about somebody else. And if those people somehow pick up and say and have an interest, I think that's the way. I like that. That's my idea of how you spread Spiritism. It's not mass. It's individual by individual, and it's what Spiritism is all about, which is love in the final analysis.
It's love. Yeah.
Yes, very very beautiful, very beautiful. Because this is the mission of the Spiritist. The mission of the Spiritist is to be able to transmit to others what we already understood, to be able to clarify their understanding in many ways, but the mostly is to be able to really to work in charity. It's really to work from our heart, helping the others, because in Spiritism we understand that only doing good we will receive good. And we are not going to be doing good because, oh, I'm doing this because I'm going to get points and I'm going to be better at this and that. But it's, maybe some people are doing this, but we understand that the only way to make the whole world better is when we start like sharing. Nowadays we have a very tiny little portion of the population of the multi-billionaires, and we have a gigantic portion of absolutely poverty. So one day when these tiny little multi-billionaires start sharing a little bit more, it will be better. But we can't wait for this. We can't wait for this. So each one of us have to do our little portion. Even if we can't do much, we can do something. So that's why every single spiritist center in Brazil, in the United States, they are always involved in charitable causes, helping charitable causes, helping people in need, and bringing some comfort to them. So this is really the mission of the Spiritists, is to bring charity, to bring love, to bring comfort, and yes, to bring the knowledge that we have, and also can touch the heart of so many people, so many people. And in Mia Inner Light is even more special because it's in English. Because a lot of spiritist centers
To
around.
make it more difficult for us.
Yeah, it's much more difficult. It's much, much, much more difficult. We are in America. People never heard of spiritism. They always misunderstand, and they have like a confused ideas. When you talk about spirits, they immediately think we are doing some kind of evocation, some kind of black magic, some kind of
Sorceress.
all kinds, yeah, voodoo, all kinds of things. And it's very difficult to break this barrier and to explain, no, it's nothing like that. But as a actually, you, Jackie, were saying that they were the ones who came first. They were the apostles. They were the ones that came to bring the message. So us that talk about spiritism in English, we are those. We are those that are really like on the stone, like lapidating little by little with our little chisel, pop, 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 pop. And hopefully one day when we come back, like for the third, fourth, fifth time, spiritism in America or in English will be something a little bit more well known, exactly like in Brazil right now. There are so many different religions, but when you say, "Oh, that person is a spiritist," oh, okay, yeah, I know. Chico Xavier, yeah, mediums, yeah. Soap opera, yeah. So
But
they
you
might
know,
not even have a whole understanding of what it is, but they know something. They know something. But in America, we are still like little tiny babies, like really like what? So one day we have to have patience, perseverance, and continue doing the work, because more posts will come. I was so excited the way you mentioned how you discovered spiritism. That was like, wow, that was so nice. Paul, can you tell us like in 3 minutes how you discover spiritism?
It's hard to do that in 3 minutes. But I will tell you, I had a friend who have a friend who's had a big interest in it, and it got me starting on my own to start reading some books. And I didn't know what I was reading at the beginning. I have a Jewish background, and I was reading gospel actually at the time, and I was afraid of it. And I finally got to a paragraph where it said, "This is for anybody who believes in Jesus as the model, and you don't have to change your religion or anything else." And I took this big sigh of relief. I went, ah, because I loved everything about it, but that would have been like a deal breaker, right? And so then I came back, and my friend just guided me. And I said, one day, can I go to the center? Because I realized just reading the books wasn't good enough. I'm talking faster now to get my 3 minutes.
I'm enjoying it, Paul.
And then I started going to the center. And the first time I went to the center in at the time was in Bridgeport. It was the nicest bunch of people and it still is. That has never changed. The best people with the best message. I've never regretted it for a second. It's always been great. And I still feel like I'm a baby in it. It's like my level of knowledge compared to so many people is so little, but I love it. And I love the fact that anytime you ask for help, the only answer you ever get is yes. We all try and help each other. So I think it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No, definitely. I'm so happy that you describe this in this way, because we feel so happy when we hear this type of things, because we Brazilians, we are so used to it, but someone that comes from a background very different and discovers and like, oh, that's good. But we also know that deep inside you already had the seed planted.
Yeah.
The seed was there. It was just waiting for the time. That's exactly like the parable. You were waiting for the time to be called.
I had no clue, needless to say, right?
But Paul, that is very common, because in Brazil, most of us, like me, my background, I'm Catholic. But we say I'm Catholic and I go to church, but I'm also a spiritist.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's very common.
In Brazil, it's like this. It's funny. Like you have in a different religion, but like I remember a friend of mine saying, "Oh, she's very, very, very Catholic," and I said, "Oh, you're going to your church Sunday? Let's meet later." And she said, "No, actually, today I'm going to the Spiritist Center, and that is in the afternoon." I'm like, oh, so
I go to church too, Angie.
but she goes to the Spiritist Center on the Sunday instead of going to her church. So yes, that's what we're saying. Spiritism is a philosophy of life. So you can have any religion, and you can follow Spiritism too. Like if you understand the teachings, the moral teachings of Jesus, you will always find it a complement, something that will help you. And we have a Saul here. Saul is also from Connecticut, so she's saying she's enjoying Spiritism in English. And then she also said, Paul, you go to the right book in the right time.
It wasn't a coincidence. It was meant to be.
Yep.
Exactly. This is so nice. So to finalize, we have the final portion is about the workers of the Lord. So what do you guys understand about workers of the Lord? Very quickly, because we need to go to our next book.
You want to start, Paul?
That's a hard one. This is one I would rather you start.
So I can just summarize. So basically, what Kardec is saying, workers of the Lord, is really everybody that has goodness in their heart. And yes, the spiritists, they are aware of what they have to do to improve themselves, but there are so many other people in different religions, in no religion, but they are awake that they will feel good when they help others. So these are all the workers of the Lord, all the people that are really working to the goodness of everybody. And there
it
is a
doesn't
really
matter.
importance.
It
Sorry?
doesn't matter what kind of religion they have. It doesn't matter if they have a religion, if they don't have a religion. The most important thing is the work that they do without any interest, what they say here.
Exactly. And
And
the
without
spirit,
any interest, and is only moved because of charity, because of love.
exactly. And it's so beautiful. The last sentence, the Spirit of the Truth says, God is taking a census of his faithful servants and is taking note of those who only have the appearance of devotion, so that they may not usurp the wages of the courageous servants. And then the message goes on and on, but basically saying, God knows the ones who are doing good from their heart. They know the difference between the ones that are doing good, but it's just like a show off. They are just demonstrating to society something. We always say this is already good because they are doing something good to others. They are helping. It's almost like a billionaire that opened a foundation, and in this foundation it's helping children, but in reality is to be able to pay his taxes and get a good break. But one day this millionaire will wake up that he can do that without thinking about money that he's saving. But what we always say is like, it doesn't matter. At least he's doing good. One day he will do good from his heart. One day we'll donate something and not expect to have the receipts to have the tax break. So the important thing is, let's do good. Let's do good now, exactly like you both mentioned. And doing good doesn't even need to be material. We always say that when we think about charity, people always think about money, money, money. But we can do good in calling a person that is sad, in helping a friend that's not feeling good, in extending the hand to that very difficult person but is going through a hard time. This is all charity. This is all doing good. And we can all do that. That's the really, really good thing. So we have very few minutes, and I would like to start our next book. So this is our other book. Let's put here. So what is Spiritism? And this is the chapter we are going to be reading today. So we are still in chapter 1. This book actually has only 3 chapters, and we are almost finishing chapter 1. And in this portion here, we are going to be talking about the difference between mediums and sorcerers. So in the time of Kardec, in the 1800s, mediumship was not something very common. People used to talk about the sorcerers, the magicians, and the mediums was something that they really didn't understand. And when Kardec starts talking about the mediumship, then they start like, oh, so mediumship is the same thing about the sorcerer. And the sorcerer was always connected with something that was not very good. And in the society of the time, they were debunked many times. They discovered there was a lot of lies, and they most of the time they charged. So Kardec goes on explaining the differences, and in other questions, he talks that everything in Spiritism is free. So why someone is going to try to make trickery and is not going to get any type of financial benefit, any type of benefit? So, Paul, would you be able to read for us just the blue items so we summarize the text?
Got it. Mediums and sorcerers. Visitor. Since mediumship consists in communicating with unseen powers, it seems to me that mediums and sorcerers are almost the same thing.
So, if you're listening just for the first time, the visitor is someone that's asking Kardec a question, and then Kardec goes and he gives the explanation to the visitor.
In every age, there have been natural, unconscious mediums who, just because they produced unusual and misunderstood phenomena, were labeled as sorcerers and were accused of making a pact with the devil.
Oops.
There you go. Far from reviving sorcery, Spiritism has destroyed it forever by stripping it of its supposed supernatural power, formulas, conjuring books, amulets, and talismans. Keep going.
Yes. It's just a little bit more.
I wasn't sure where I should stop. Their error in thinking that spiritists are under mediums' orders. Spirits are not at the command of anyone's whim, and no one can make them come at will and against their wishes. From which it follows that mediums are not sorcerers. Visitor.
Exactly. So then we are going to read it later on. So what did you guys understand from this explanation from Kardec?
I mean,
Jackie,
to me, Jackie first. I like that.
Okay. To me, the mediumship is not something you can control. So we cannot be compared to mediums, cannot be compared to sorcerers, because it's not something we can control. We cannot just say all of a sudden, I'm going to have the power of talking to spirit or to see a spirit or to write something, let a spirit use my hands to write, because I don't have the control. They, in the other parts that we didn't read, it writes that too. They are the ones who decide when to come and to use this faculty that we have to let them communicate in some way, shape, or form with us. So basically, it's right here. Spirits are not at the command of my will. I cannot say, please come and do this. Please come and let me see you. Please come and let me write a book. No, they use us for some of those things. So that's why we are not sorcerers. We cannot go and put up a show, because it's like saying, today or tonight at 8 p.m., I'm going to be seeing stuff. Tonight at 9 p.m., I'm going to be writing a book that is going to be with a spirit, because it's not going to happen like that. I cannot be considered a sorcerer if I am a medium.
Exactly. This is, oops, where are you guys here? So exactly, this is exactly the biggest difference, because a mediumship, exactly like Chico Xavier always told us, the phone rings there, here. In the past, in the 1800s, when Kardec was creating, was building, was really cataloging all the answers from the spirits. So when we read the Spirit's book, when we read the Gospel, especially when we read the Spiritist magazine, I am reading the one from the 1858, but Kardec did this for many, many, many years. So the Spiritist magazine, extremely interesting, is the collection of all mediumship meetings that Kardec participated, and that he received communication from other meetings around the world. So in that time, They were evoking, they were calling the spirits to talk about their experiences, how they cross over, how is life there. But we understand that there was an appropriate time for that. Nowadays, we don't have that. Nowadays, there are no spirits that will come, and as soon as we call, exactly like Jackie said, we say, "Oh, Chico Xavier, come here to help us," and he will come running, because it's not supposed to be like that anymore. But we always have to be very careful, because if there are mediums involved, a spirit probably will come. A spirit will come and will say, "Hey, I'm Chico Xavier. I'm here to help with whatever you want." And it is not Chico Xavier. It's not Chico Xavier. And if people don't really study mediumship, if people really didn't know how was the character of a Chico Xavier, they will end up believing in that. And that's a very, very big danger to mediumship meetings. That's why nowadays it's so important for us to study before we practice, because anybody can be a medium, anybody can receive a spirit, but that understanding, that feeling, that is this a good spirit, or is this like a trickery, is something that really is going to cause trouble. This is what it's so important to study, to be able to fully understand. That's the big, big, big part nowadays. And yes, sorcerers, they were the ones who said they can come. And we still have that. Uh, Here, not so much, but in Brazil, in many places, Paul, it's very common. You pass and they say, "I bring your husband back in 3 weeks."
Oh,
Or,
in Miami, we find this in every pole when you're driving on US 1. Look at US 1, the signs on US 1. Did you lose your loved one? Call this number. We can
yes,
bring them back to you.
yes, it's like,
$50.
it's actually funny. It's like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna help you to be rich." I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay, okay. So Jackie, just to finalize, could you read the last one for us, please?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't put it back.
No, I have
Thanks,
it
Angie.
here, but I know you have the blue stuff. Um, Visitor, based on this, wouldn't all the effects that certain accredited mediums obtain at will and in public be, according to you, nothing more than trickery? And Allan Kardec said, I wouldn't say that so categorically. Such phenomena are not impossible because there are low spirits who may willingly participate and have fun with these sort of things.
Oops,
Ob-
did I pass? Hold on, let me see. Did I pass something? No.
no. Obtaining this phenomena at will and especially in public is always suspect. In this case, mediumship and sleight of hand are so similar that it's often hard to distinguish one from the other. It is not there that Spirit's true teachings or its philosophy should be sought, but it's a way to grab the attention of the indifferent and to force the most recalcitrant to talk about them.
Okay, very good. So in this portion here, Kardec is saying that yes, there is a possibility of a phenomenon happening, because it's always possible. Materialization, it is possible to happen. So it's not that everything is a trickery, but it's very important to be investigated and debunked if it is a lie. But in Spiritism, the phenomena is secondary, because the main thing in Spiritism is really the study, is the understanding the Spiritist philosophy. It's not seeing spirits, uh, it's not the understanding the future or someone telling my past. Yeah, it's fun, it's cool, But that's not what Spiritism is. And that's what Kardec says. The real teachings of the Spiritism is what is important, is what we have to focus. And sometimes it's good to have like a mediumship happening in a very strong way, because sometimes those who are distracted, they pay attention and they're like, oh, what is that? For example, I posted a video on our Facebook page about the reincarnation of a kids who described their past life in details, and many of them describe they die in the Twin Towers. So the Twin Towers is something very, very close to most Americans. I was here. I had just moved to United States. I had my first job in Manhattan when the Twin Towers collapsed. So it's something very, very strong. And then you have these 3-year-olds describing, doing drawings of their window and doing drawings of an airplane, and telling their mothers they jumped from the building. Anyway, it's very strong. So all these people, they start waking up. Is really a possibility to that my son, that my daughter, they die, they lived before, and they lived in the World Trade Center. So this is good to make people to wake up. And reincarnation is not something new. It's something so old, and it's something that is already studied so deeply. But a lot of people choose not to pay much attention, not to listen. Nah, this is a kid's imagination. But sometimes it's very difficult. How a 3-year-old can imagine a Twin Towers that don't even exist anymore. So these are things that the people start like, yeah, they start having that little bug, like, weird. I don't want to talk about. But yeah, it's weird, but I don't want to talk about. But one day they will have to talk about. But right now they're still choosing not to do it. But it's okay. One day we will all wake up. And that's why certain things are good to make people to start thinking. Is there a life after the death? Yes, for us it's so obvious, but for others it's so hard to understand. One day. So, what Saul says here, like Saul said, why God let the people remember their past life was, what is the purpose? Well, so most of the time, until a child reaches 7 years old, they remember their past lives. Not in these specific cases that were so extremely strong. Usually the ones who remember their past lives when they were children, first of all, they reincarnated pretty much soon. As you say, the World Trade Center was in 2001, and we are in 2021. So it's nothing. It's only 20 years ago, and the kids are 3 years old, so they are is less than 20 years. So their memories are very fresh. But usually kids that remember their past lives, they had traumatic deaths. And this was so imprinted in their consciousness that when they come back, they remember. And there are wonderful studies from Dr. Jim Tucker from the University of Virginia. He is the professor who continues the study of Dr. Jan Stevenson. And together, they already researched almost 3,000 cases. Not just researched, they researched much more, but they cataloged almost 3,000 cases of little kids between 2 and 6. Because when they reach to 7 years old, they start forgetting. And that's exactly what we say in Spiritism. When you reach 7 years old, you connect with your physical body and you disconnect with the spiritual body. And that's also what science explains, that the brain is forming, and when the brain starts really forming, then you stop your memory from the past stops. So it's very interesting, and it's good for us to like, wow, I love to hear these stories, and I love to share with my friends who do not believe in life after death, because they get like yeah, it's strange, but I don't want to talk about that. My friends, thank you so much. It was awesome. It was awesome to be here with you guys tonight to talk about important points. We finished chapter 20. Yay! That's awesome. So I would like to ask you, Jackie, to do our final prayer, please.
Okay, thank you. Dear Lord, dear Jesus, thank you for another hour learning about your teachings, learning about Spiritism, learning with the experience from Angy, the experience that Paul has, and hopefully knowing a little bit more and being able to share a little bit more of what we learned today. Thank you. It's with immense gratitude that we are here today and that we are able to have these conversations, and we have the capability, hopefully we'll have the capability to share with others. Please guide our minds, guide our words when we start passing this information around, so we don't do it in a way that is arrogant. We don't do it in a way that we are trying to impose anything. Whenever we are able to communicate, we communicate in a way that is humble and that is touching people's hearts. Because the most important thing is that we learn and we share how important it is to love and how important it is to help others. Thank you so much, and so be it.
So be it. Very good, my friends. It was awesome. And thank you so much, all of you that participated with us, and all of you that will be listening to this recording message. We also want to let you know that we are here in Coconut Grove, Miami, Florida. And our small Spiritist Center is open. So we are super happy. We have a physical location. We are having our meetings, but right now everybody has to be vaccinated. So if you had your 2 shots, let me know if you would like to participate. It would be a pleasure. And Paul, when you come back here, you have to be with us.
I am going to do that.
Yes.
We're also back doing volunteering.
It's true. It's true.
The Volunteers of Love. So we're going to the Spiritist Center, and we're also doing volunteering.
Exactly. It's true. It's true. We have lots of different projects, and we are doing the loving delivery. I love to give my projects. They always start with love. It's loving bags, it's loving letters, it's loving performance. So now we are doing the loving delivery to the legally to the visually impaired. So if you would like to participate, please let us know. Volunteers of Love can give you all the information. If you can't join us physically, we will be sending a list of items that we would need to have some help, because the material is actually finishing. We never imagined the pandemic was going to be 2 years. So we are actually running out of material now, and it would be great to have any extra help.
And they still need it with the Delta variant here in Florida, so many cases. Very important to keep them protected, to make sure that they have the supplies that they need.
Yes.
If you can be in person, there are things that you can help.
Spirit. And then we can appreciate the donations. Very good, my friends. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Jackie.
Paul.
Thank you, people. It was
Thanks,
a
guys.
blessing. Bye
Thank
bye,
you.
everybody. Have a
Bye-bye,
great night.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.